A very good evening to all of you guys. Hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to yet another virtual learning session in your 2024 Advanced Levels Econ-Hub theory program. So today, this is the 12th session we are having, counting from the very first session that we had where we started Unit 1. So up to now, we have completed a majority or about 90% of or 80% of the first theory study material for Unit 1. Okay, so we have looked at 3 learning key areas, and now we are in the 4th learning key area where we are discussing the economic resources or the factors of production. And in terms of factors of production, as you guys remember, we have done a very comprehensive, a very complete discussion on land as a factor of production, economic resource. Then we looked at capital, very detailed discussion we did on capital. Everything there is to learn about capital, we have now learned, we have covered. Then we started the resource called labor. Yes. And we have to then look at entrepreneurship. And with that, or along with that, we will basically complete our discussion on the first chapter of Unit 1, right? So sometimes you guys might get a bit disappointed after all this, after 12 sessions. What we have finished is the first chapter of Unit 1. Okay, how many chapters are there, Puta, in Unit 1? If you guys could let me know. And also, small request, there is a student, Puta, you need to have your name, at least the first name, a name that is easy for me to pronounce on your, Zoom profile or the thumbnail that is there, right? So that I can refer to you, right, if necessary. So there is one of you guys with a number. So, right, there we go. Thank you. Right. See, right. Okay. Now, yes, very good, Amani. Yes, there are 3 chapters. There are 3 chapters in Unit 1. So what we are trying to complete today is the first chapter of Unit 1. There are 12 units. Each unit has few chapters. Unit 1 has 3 chapters. The first chapter I have broken down into 4 learning keys. Right. Any idea what is chapter 2 and chapter 3 in Unit 1? 2 and 3? Someone could just let give it a try. Chapter 2 and 3 in Unit 1. It's okay, but just to the best of your knowledge. Right. Chapter 2 in Unit 1 is basically product. Yes. Am I getting some answers? No. Yes. Let's see. Good. I'm getting some answers. The only part I can see is Shihla, I think. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. Akila, then Amani. Yes, correct, Pata. Very good. Production possibilities, frontier is chapter 2, and chapter 3 is economic systems and solving basic economic problems. So the next study material book that you guys will get, right? That is, you will get, right? Most probably we will post a message saying collect this book, right? You can do that. Okay, call the coordinator and start collecting the book. So this book that says book 2 will include chapter 2 and 3, production possibilities frontier, and we will look at economic systems and how an economic system would solve the basic economic problems of what to produce, how to produce, whom to produce. The thing we learned with the cake analogy, right? Okay. So that's unit 1. In economics, each unit is very big, right? There's a lot to learn within the unit. So it takes a bit of time, which is unavoidable. And because economics is, as I've said before many times, you guys need to always know this and keep this in mind. Economics is your original new subject in advanced levels, the subject of which you haven't really learned anything, any fundamental thing you haven't learned in O levels, right? Especially if you're a commerce student and doing the standard 3 parallel subjects, accounting, business studies, economics, then economics is the new subject. The new subject is this. So therefore, especially unit 1 in economics, I tend to take a bit of time and make sure that I have a very strong, a solid foundation that I need to have to ensure that you learn the rest of the subject really, really well. Okay. So it will take a bit of time, but don't worry about it. We are progressing, we are moving forward. And every class that we do, as I said during the first class, if you are learning something, if something is being very clear, being made clear to you, if something of logic is going into your head about the subject, then that is the objective. Then it's a productive, effective learning experience. Okay, right. I hope you guys are clear on what I said. I thought of just making sure that I give you this assurance, this motivation that even though it's happening very slowly, we are in the right path and we are in the right, we are doing this in the right pace, in the right speed according to the subject. Each subject is different. Did you guys understand what I just said up to now? Yes or no? Are we clear? Right. Okay. So Puta, with that clear understanding, let's start. Okay, as always, can you guys guide me? Where do we need to start in terms of the study material? Which page number, please? The heading and the page number. That's how I like to do this. The engagement is important. Yes, even though I can look at the recording and figure this out easily, but it's better coming from you. Which page number, which heading do we need to start? Come on, quickly. Page 42, division of labor and specialization. Is that correct? Can someone confirm that?
Yes, sir.
Right, brilliant. Let's go. So I think in terms of your study material, that is exactly where I am. Yes. Division of labor and specialization. Page number 42, which means everything above this we have completed, especially the characteristics of labor. What is labor? What decides the, what are the determinants of how much labor resource a country has? You know, the population, the health and physicality of the population, then the education standards of the population. Then we went through a whole list of things that are the characteristics of labor. Now we are looking at a very special area known as division of labor and specialization. I've given a definition for division of labor, right? And specialization based on what your examiner, one of your senior examiners, that is Professor Prasanna Pereira, has mentioned in his textbook, right? So basically, Buddha, according to Professor Prasanna Pereira, division of labor is the separation process. It's a process of separating process in separating the production process, actually, right? Division of labor is the separation process into a number of tasks. Separation, I think there is a small issue here. No, let's adjust that. Division of labor is the Division of labor is the separation of the production process. Yeah, that's better, no? Division of labor is the separation of the production process into a number of tasks, with each task performed by a separate person or group of persons, instead of all tasks being performed by the same person or the same group. Get it? So that's the basic definition for a division of labor as per Professor Prasanna Pereira. Right. Then it says, when I've given a few more points, and a very important point is mentioned here, that division of labor is really suitable for large-scale production, and where they use some method of production called an assembly line, or maybe more automated type production, manufacturing kind of a thing, and an assembly line. I'll explain all that in a bit. Then your professor also explains or gives a definition for specialization. Specialization can be defined as specialized skill or knowledge gathered by focusing on an individual effort or a single task. Thus, specialization is generally a result of, that's very important, specialization is a result of division of labor. So we get specialization as a result of division of labor. So first we have to practice division of labor. Division of labor is more practically practiced when you have large-scale production. Right. Okay. Now, there's a bit of a story here, Buddha. And this story, there's a bit of a learning here. This learning or story is tested in your exam in different ways and tested quite a lot also. So there's a bit of a background for this. That background is tested sometimes, right? With a 4 or 5 mark question. And sometimes they will directly ask questions about division of labor, specialization, to define these concepts. And a very common question is the advantages, disadvantages of division of labor. Okay, so we will cover all of these so that we are, as always, we do this area comprehensively, completely. Right. So with this, let me go to the slides. Right. All this we covered, division of labor, specialization. Right. Okay. So I'll use this slide. I need the space. Okay. Right. Now, the story about division of labor, specialization really begins, right? Really begins. Now, but the thing is this. We can't practice division of labor, right? We cannot practice division of labor unless we engage in what we call large scale production. Okay, large scale production. Only if you're engaging in large scale production, it's logical, it makes sense to practice division of labor, right? So, now, before we come to large-scale production, before society started using large-scale production, there's something that happened in society, a turning point in human civilization that led us to such a big production economies in the world, such big production economies, manufacturing economies in the world, right? So, basically, before we started using money, yes, that's where the background is. Before we started using money as a medium of exchange. How do we say it? Today we live in a monetary economy. We live in a monetary economy. What is a monetary economy? Where we are using money as a medium of exchange, right? Where we give the value of anything in monetary terms or money terms. We pay for things in money. We earn income in money. We do our transactions in money, complete our transactions in money. We live in a monetary economy. We measure our wealth in monetary terms in money, right? We collect our wealth in money, save in money, right? Everything is about money. We record, we maintain our accounts in money, right? So, Pata, we live in a monetary economy. So, when you live in a monetary economy, that means you're using money as a medium of exchange. Before we used money as a medium of exchange, what was the system we had? Before money was started to be used as a medium of exchange, what was the system? Very good. I'm getting some responses. I want more of you to respond. You can unmute the microphone and respond. No problem. Before we started using money as a medium of exchange, what is the system we had? Brilliant. Shihla, Amani, right? Akila.
Barter system.
Yes. Who was that, by the way? Sorry, brother, I couldn't catch your name. Right. Net me. Yeah, all of you, Hasni, all of you, right, have responded. Ayesha, correct. Yes, Deepti, all of you. Brilliant. See, you all know stuff, no? I just need to ask, no? Right. Excellent. Yes, correct. Okay. So we use the, or is this not working? We use the barter. Is that clear? Bartering, or we say barter system. Right. In a barter system, what happens is it's a direct exchange system, right? As you guys most probably know, where you can exchange a good for a good, good for a service for a service. Okay. Now, if you're, for example, fisherman, you can give some fish and exchange the fish for rice, good for a good. Or you can say, you know, I'll teach you how to fish, give me some rice. No, you're the fisherman, you say, I'll teach you how to fish, you give me some rice. Then it's basically a service for a good. Or you can say, I'll teach you how to fish, you teach me how to farm. Service for a service, barter system, right? Nothing in between like today. There is no medium of exchange. It's basically direct exchange. Now, the one of the biggest problems with this barter system was it had this constant, very inefficient, inconvenient requirement called a double coincidence of wants. Double coincidence of wants. Without a double coincidence of wants, right? Without a double coincidence of wants, in the barter system, exchange will not take place. So how does this double coincidence of wants work? And why was it considered to be the biggest bottleneck limitation in the barter system? This double coincidence of wants, this requirement that was there in the barter system is the reason why the economy, the trade volume, the trade levels, the output levels, the economies couldn't grow very fast, very much. They were restricted because of this requirement. Double coincidence of wants is basically what the, when you get into an exchange with another party, right? Your wants have to match. There's this mutual satisfaction is required. Both parties should feel that what they are looking for is fulfilled, satisfied. Now we'll think of a fisherman, right? Right? This fisherman will come back to us. So we will talk about this fisherman again in Unit 7. Unit 7 is money and banking. We talk about this again, right? So we'll think of this fisherman. The fisherman takes the fish. He gets, as now, we'll say a fisherman goes out to sea, right? Spends about 4 or 5 hours or 8 hours at sea, right? And captures a certain amount of fish. Now, in the barter system, the whole thing is that you have to always have something called an excess output, right? You have to always have something called an excess output. Why do we need this excess output? This excess or extra additional output is what you exchange with someone else for some other good or service, because the output, the goods, is the way to get what you want, right? You specialize on one thing. You only focus on one activity that you're good at, but you try to get an excess output, and then, yes. I think one of you guys have accidentally, Ayesha, you have accidentally switched on your microphone, Buddha. Right. Okay. So you get this, you always try to get an excess output, because only if you have an excess, you can exchange it with other goods and services. Now the fisherman will say needs about, right? The fisherman needs about, right, that's fine. The fisherman needs about 5 kilograms of, 4 kilograms of fish for his and his family's consumption, 4 kilograms. Then the fisherman always tries to go out to sea and get a capture or get a harvest, fishing harvest, or get a catch of anything more than 4 kilograms. So we'll say the fisherman has got 7 kilograms of fish, right? So he only needs 4. So there are 3 kilograms of fish in excess now, excess output. Then the fisherman's wife says, Mrs. Fisherman says, every day we are eating fish. Kids are complaining, always fish, breakfast, lunch, dinner, fish. So don't come home without some rice. Bring some rice. That's the simple instruction given by Mrs. Fisherman. So Mr. Fisherman goes out to sea, captures about 7 kilograms of fish, keeps 4 for the family's use. The balance 3, the excess output of fish, takes to the market, fresh fish, and gives it to a rice farmer, paddy farmer, a rice vendor, and says, rice person, take this fish and give me about 1 kilogram or 2 kilograms or whatever the rate. That's another problem, but whatever the rate, whatever the exchange rate of rice, give me 2 kilograms of rice, take this fish, right? And then with the now if the rice seller or the vendor, right, rice vendor also is happy to take the fish, also wants fish. If he was also thinking it's good to have some fish, and the fisherman wants some rice, then we have a double coincidence of wants. No, a mutual agreement is there, mutual satisfaction is there. So you will give the fish and get the rice and problem solved. But there is no guarantee that will be the case, isn't it? You give the fish to the rice vendor. The rice vendor says, oh, don't. I am vegetarian. I don't eat any fish. Now you want the rice, but you can't exchange the fish for rice because there is a lack of, there is no double coincidence of wants. Both parties are not thinking about the same thing at the same time. That is not happening. So now the exchange cannot happen. Are we clear? Okay. So now what is the solution here? What is the way to get this done? Remember, the fisherman can't go home. Remember what Mrs. Fisherman said? Right. Have to take rice. So what would the fisherman do now? The fisherman will have to go through a very cumbersome, very hassleful process. No? The fisherman will have to ask the rice vendor, okay, rice vendor, if you don't want fish, what do you want for rice? The rice vendor says, I would like some mangoes. Just top of my mind, I would like some mangoes. Now, does the fisherman have mangoes? No. What should the fisherman do? Fisherman should go around the village or the market or wherever, looking for someone who is trading or selling, meaning a fruit vendor who has some mangoes. Yes. So go to the fruit vendor and say, here, fruit vendor, take this fish and give me some mangoes. Is the fisherman trying to get mangoes because the fisherman wants mangoes? No. Fisherman wants rice. Then the fruit vendor could possibly say, no, I don't want fish. I had fish yesterday. I don't want to eat fish today. I would like to have some coconuts. Just again, example, right? Coconuts, right? Then now the fisherman has to go in search of someone who has coconuts, who is willing to take fish. The double coincidence has to be there. Then we'll assume the coconut person is willing to take fish. You give the fish, take the coconuts, give the coconuts, take the mangoes, give the mangoes, take the rice. Actually, the fisherman only wanted rice. To get to rice, look at the process. Is this convenient or inconvenient? Is this efficient or inefficient? I'm asking you guys. What do you think? Efficient or inefficient? Inconvenient, very good. Inefficient, highly. It's a hassle. It's, in your words, it's annoying, the barter system, sometimes, most of the time. Because of this, as long as we were in the barter system, our economies, our trade volumes, the level of trade, how much we can exchange, these things, our economic growth, these things will never expand, will never increase. Our economies will be very restricted, will be very small in the transactions we do, in the output we produce, because it's, the problem is we are afraid to go for large scale production. We are afraid to go for large scale production. We are afraid to have a big excess output. Why are we afraid to have a big excess output? Even if we have a very big excess output, it's difficult to exchange. That problem is there. Trade volumes are very low. But when we go from the barter system with low trade volumes, this inefficiency, to a monetary system, right? Monetary system. What is a monetary system? Monetary system is where basically we start using what? Money. Where we started using money as a medium of exchange. Moment we go from the barter system to the monetary system, that whole the limitation, that whole inconvenience, inefficiency called double coincidence of wants, and all the other problems connected to the barter system are completely removed, eliminated, and we realize now completing transactions, performing transactions is so convenient and easy that will create a boom. That means a massive expansion in trade. When there is a massive expansion in trade, boom in trade, right? You really are now trying to create a big output. The more you produce, the more you can exchange in the monetary system. This boom in trade is another reason, right, that people started looking. Now people wanted to, with the boom in trade, people wanted to go in for large scale production. Now there's a logic for large scale production. You get the point, Buddha? Now there is a logic for large scale production. Why did we have a boom in production and economic activity? Right? So with this comes a boom. Right? That's a good word, right? Expansion, big expansion, boom in production and trade, right? We say volumes, levels, okay? If we want this boom in production and trade volumes to happen, we have to then go into what scale production? Large scale production. Now we have got the background, large scale production. So when we want to engage in large scale production, you have to find certain special techniques that will make large scale production efficient. Now you want to engage in large scale production, but you want to do it efficiently. If you want to do it efficiently, that's when you think about things like division of labor, and through that you develop certain thing called specialization. Get it? So basically this process you have to have an idea about. So what is the key turning point now? When people started using money as a medium of exchange. When people started using money as a medium of exchange, right? That's the background story. Are we clear on the background story now? Yes, this has been tested. Okay. Right. Now we know how we got to this whole thing called division of labor and specialization, right? Okay. How we got to this thing called division of labor and specialization. Right? Right. Putta, just give me 1 minute. I'm really sorry. Right. Sorry about that. So, division of labor. Sorry, as I was saying, we are clear on the background, right? Okay. Now let's talk a bit about this method of production called division of labor, and it's actually a very amazing thing. It's a wonderful thing, right? This very renowned economist known as Adam Smith, right, made a certain observation for the in a pin factory in Scotland, UK, right? Made a certain observation within a pin factory. You know pins, right? Okay, those small things that they make. We attach paper and all that with it in a pin factory. So what Adam Smith did was he went to a traditional pin factory and made an observation there. That observation was he looked at how people make pins. Okay, now I'm trying to explain something about division of labor here, the concept, right? So he saw people will say just the numbers are different, right? From the original example, we'll say there are 100 labor units, people will say 100 people working in this pin factory, right? Just an example. So every day in the morning, these 100 people come to work, right? One person, starts, right? In the morning, starts at the first point of production, first stage of production, we'll say, right? Takes the steel rod or whatever it is, right? So I'll just call it number 1, right? Starts here, take the steel, rod or whatever it is, then cuts it into a certain thing and then goes to the second stage of production. Now, this is the same person who does this, right? Then the second stage of production, right, moves on. Then once that is completed, goes to the third stage of production, from the second to the third, moves on, right? And maybe, there is a point where you cut the thing, you reduce the thickness of it. Third stage could be where you, create the point and, fourth stage point and the pin top, right? Pin, the pointy part and the blunt top part. And the fourth stage could be where you test it or something, whether it pricks properly, not on a person, hopefully, but on something you just prick and see if it's working properly. And the fifth stage is where there is a bucket or something, right? You go and once everything is done, drop the pin into the, right? Drop the pin into the bucket. Get it? Right? That's a crooked pin, but anyway, drop the pin into the bucket. Are we clear with that? So that's the process. So each of these 100 people, employee 1, 2, 3, likewise, each of the 100 people go through this stage. You start in the morning, right? And you go through all the stages. Same person goes through all the stages, completes one pin, drops it into the bucket, then comes back, starts again. Each 100 of them do this. There's the process they follow. Got it? Are we clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's the way there now. This is what Adam Smith observed. That is what they're doing. Right? Now we'll say, Putra, with this whole thing, right? This whole process, just an example, right? With this traditional method. Okay. We'll say, I'll write it here, with the traditional method. Traditional method meaning, because division of labor is the modern method. Traditional method, their output is, they are able to produce, we'll say, 1,000 pins. Right? They are able to produce 1,000 pins. That's a total output, 100 people working, 1,000 pins, each person 10 pins. Each person goes through all 5 stages. Then Smith observed all this and he proposed a small change in the method of production. So Smith said, okay, all this is good, but let's try to do a small change and see if it makes a difference in the efficiency, in the output. His proposal was, take the 100 people, identify their skills, their knowledge, and assign them into one of the 5 stages and ask them to only concentrate on that particular task or stage of production. Do not focus on anything else. Just concentrate on that. Get it? So he took, we'll assume, he took this 100 people, divide them into, right? You take the 100 people, right? You have to observe their skills and knowledge and all that. That work study you have to do. Then you divide them into 5 stages, right? So we have 20, right? So he created 20, right? 20 people, and he created how many teams? 5 teams. We'll say he created 5 teams. Then you get the 100. So then he said each team, so one team assigned for the first task. Their job is, these 20 people, the only thing they have to concentrate, focus on is cutting the steel rod, then reducing the thickness. Then next 20 people, different 20 people, another next team, team 2, team 3, pin the prick and the top, pin top. The 4th team, 20 people, quality testing, whether the pin is working. 5th, they are not the bucket people. They are the ones who pack and finish everything, put it into boxes and all that. 5 teams. Get it? 20 people. Now the same person is not doing all stages. We have, what has Smith done? He has implemented division of labor. And through that, what will happen? These 20 people who are concentrating on cutting the steel rod, right? Just cutting that steel rod into that size, they are only doing that job, which means they will develop what is the other thing that comes with division of labor? With division of labor, what will be developed in people? If you're doing only one task again and again repeatedly, and if you're only concentrating on one task, what will you develop in you about that task? You will develop a what? Now, if I have been teaching only economics, not business studies, not accounting, only economics, and mainly only for advanced levels, local advanced levels, for 20 batches or 18 batches, 19 batches, then I should develop a what? What is the term? Yes, a special skill. Yes, good. There's a word we are looking for. With division of labor comes what? There we go. Specialization, isn't it? Now, these people, the 20 people in these 5 teams doing that task, on that particular task, they develop a specialization. When you develop a specialization, Putra, there are many other benefits to that. What is that? You do the task faster. You are more efficient, right? And you also look for new ways of doing that task, to improve your efficiency even further. You learn to use specialized machinery equipment You make more use of the machinery equipment you have because you're specialized in that task. All of these, right, comes around because you are having a specialization. So the gist is this, the bottom line is this. Once division of labor was practiced, so with modern production, right, modern method, or we'll say modern production is also okay, right? With the modern method, that is basically division of labor, and through that specialization, would you believe the general ratio, general understanding is the same 100 people are now able to produce 10,000 pins. From 1,000, it goes to 10,000, tenfold increase simply by practicing division of labor. The resources are the same, still 100 people, but massive increase in output, tenfold increase in output. That's the magic of division of labor. Division of labor only makes sense if trade volumes are large, if we are using money as a medium of exchange. Most important thing is division of labor only makes sense if you are engaging in large scale production. If you are in small scale production, if you are only having 3 or 4 people, don't practice division of labor. It will not make sense. But large scale production, assembly line, like how they make cars, have you seen on television or YouTube videos you might have watched? No, have you seen assembly line, conveyor belt? We say sometimes the car keeps moving and they keep fixing things, right? That is the assembly line, no? Right? We have the first example of the assembly line with the Ford Model T in the Ford Automobile Corporation in America. Right? Henry Ford is the one who introduced this assembly line system, right? Rather than you keep the vehicle in one place and everyone has to come there and make it, the vehicle keeps moving, the chassis keeps moving, you fix the different components, right? I'm sure all of you guys have seen, yeah? Right, so that kind of production, manufacturing context, large scale production, what works? Division of labor works, specialization works. Are we okay? So I think I've given you guys a pretty comprehensive understanding of the concepts now. The background and the concepts and the benefit, right? Now let's talk about the specific advantages and disadvantages. Meanwhile, if you guys have any questions, anything that you think is something we should talk about connected with division of labor, let me know. Yes, we can do that as well, right? So my intelligent students, now we are going to write in page 43. I think the page number is correct. We're going to write the advantages and the disadvantages. We can do this quickly because we have a good understanding of the concept now. Right. So first, let me clear all this. Yeah. Right. Here we go. Right. Start writing, Putta. As you guys write, I will explain a bit also. Okay. So don't get disturbed with my explanation, but keep writing and we can get this done soon. Fatima. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Write these 4. I'll give you about a minute, then I'll explain and we'll bring the next few points. Okay. Right. Okay, shall we just quickly go through them? It says first advantage, increase in quality and quantity, or quantity and quality of production, and reduction in cost of production. Obviously, because when you produce 10 times more, at least 10 times more than what you used to produce, the cost per unit of output. Now, in our example, in Smith's pin factory example, the cost to produce one pin would definitely decrease a lot. So there's a saving in cost, massive, right? Saving in cost, that is the efficiency. And not only that, because people who are specialized in that task are finishing each stage of the production process, each step of the product, each part of the product, which means the quality of work they do will be high, right? Because you're specialized in what you do. So quantity, quality, 10,000 pins compared to 1,000 pins, that reduces the cost of a pin, cost of production of a pin, and the quality increases. Okay, logical. Maximum utilization of machinery and incentive to engage in large-scale production. Yes, so we only use division of labor when we are engaging in large-scale production. And if you are a small-scale producer or a medium-scale producer, division of labor will encourage you to go into large-scale production as well. The benefits of division of labor will be an incentive, a motivation for you to go into large-scale production. And as I said, when you specialize on a given task, you will be able to make the best use of the machinery and equipment. Right. Maximum use of everyone's ability. Yes, because we assign the team, we assign the person to the task after looking at that person's skills and knowledge. So the maximum use can be made of each individual's skill and knowledge. Saving of time and expenses in training. Because now you don't have to train people on all aspects of the production process. All stages of the production process, you don't have to train people. You only have to train the factory workers in one particular activity. So your training cost will reduce. Time for training will reduce. Get what I'm saying? And also, you don't have to train every aspect also. I mean, in that task also, you don't have to put a lot of effort, because people only concentrate on one activity. They will learn. We say on-the-job training is possible. On-the-job training is possible. Right. Then a few more points. Okay, that's it. Okay, only 8. Right. Can you guys write this? I will explain them and make a point, make a note also as I explain. Management control. The control is a bit better with division of labor, because when you have a problem, you can pinpoint which stage of production the problem is. Okay, and you can handle it there. Now, for example, in the pin factory, when we have a batch of pins where it doesn't prick properly, right? If it doesn't work properly, then you know the problem is not the whole production process. The problem is where the point is made. Get what I'm saying? So you can look at, isolate the problem and control it, manage the problem better. The management efficiency also improves. Then encourages inventions. Yes, when you keep doing the same task repeatedly again and again, obviously you will look for better and more improved ways of doing that. You will always think, even at home, sometimes you will think about this task you do the whole day when you work, and you will think of ways of you will invent new ways of improving the efficiency. That's a natural thing. Then increase in efficiency of workers and their skills, right? Maybe a similar point we have discussed earlier, but Professor Prasanna Pereira gives it there. So that's true. Increase in efficiency of each individual worker is there, right? Overall, the economy's efficiency of using resources improves. Individually also it improves. Then increases mobility of labor and employment opportunities. That is true. Increases mobility of labor and the employment opportunities. That is very true. Right? That means mobility of labor. The simple understanding there is, Puta, once you develop a specialization, in any other company, any other factory, in that industry, you can easily find a job. Got it? You have developed a specialization, and your employment opportunities increase. Employment opportunities increase. Right. So these are the main advantages of division of labor as per Introduction to Economics, textbook 1, written by Professor Prasanna Pereira. Okay. And they are logical as well. So if you guys are done, please let me know. Then we can talk about the disadvantages. Always, everything has a good and a bad side, pros and cons. Okay. So if more of you guys, a few more of you guys let me know you're done, Puta, I can move on. Right. Again, if any of these points or anything I'm saying doesn't make sense, please ask questions, right? Make clarifications. Always be a person, right? That's the caliber of students I want, right? Because I am not trying to do the typical online class or the typical tuition class or typical support class, right? I believe in this a lot. What is said in the cover page, you see it up the other way around, right? What does it say in the cover page of your study materials? What does it say in the cover page of your study materials? Someone can let me know. If someone can read it out loud for me, unmute the microphone. What does it say? Yep, very good. It says a different class, right? So when I say a different class, Puta, yes, not that it is different from accounting and business studies. Obviously, economics is a different class. But there's a certain class we try to maintain. That class has many components in it. One of the components is I always encourage my students to ask the most smartest question, that is the why question. You should ask. Anything that I say, anything that you learn. Right, there we go. Right, ask the why question. That's a very important thing. That's how you develop your mind, right? Okay. Yes, Khadija, I can explain. Sir, can you brief mobility means? Yeah, we will learn Putha mobility a bit later, right? A small area we talk about mobility. There are two kinds of mobilities, right? Sorry. There are two kinds of mobilities, right? One is known as occupational mobility. We will learn this. Other is known as geographical mobility, right? Occupational mobility is what I am referring to here. That is where you can go from one job to another, right? When you develop a specialization, right? If you are working in one company, right? But if you have developed a specialization in a particular part of the manufacturing or production process, you can use that specialization and apply it in another factory, another company also. So there are people who are willing to hire you because you have that specialization. That is the mobility aspect there. Now that could be a disadvantage also, because you have only specialized in one activity. So some of these points have two sides to it, right? Did I make sense? Right. Yes, is that clear, Buddha? Right? Because when you have developed the specialization, you can go and do that task in any company, so that improves your mobility. But also it can be a disadvantage because you only know that particular part of the production process. So it can be a disadvantage also. Khadija, is it clear, or I can explain further? Right. Okay. Yeah. So that's it. So my different class of students are in our different class. Let's keep it different. Let's keep it classy. Let's ask the questions. Let's have a good discussion. Right? Okay. Let's do it differently. Right. Disadvantages of division of labor. Sorry, are we done here? I'm moving on. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's talk about the disadvantages. I'll run through the points while you guys can start writing, right? Hopefully you can multitask a bit, right? Not always a good thing. Right. Possibility of overproduction, because the production volume, production level increases so much with division of labor specialization. Sometimes we might end up overproducing. Overproduction is inefficiency. We don't want to overproduce, underproduce. Both are inefficiency. Lack of responsibility, right? Because for the final outcome, right? This is, I'm writing this for our understanding, right? The final product, right? Or we can say for the finished product, right? There is no one person who is responsible. No. Now, in the traditional system, each person goes through all the stages of making each pin. No. So when that pin is put into the bucket, and if it has a problem, you can say, okay, you're having a problem with your work. But here, each component is made by different teams of people or individuals. So no one will take the responsibility for the final product or the finished product. Increased dependence on machines. Yes, we will use, with division of labor specialization, we will use more machines, but there's a risk of depending too much on machines also. If the machines break down or if the components run out, right? Now in Sri Lanka, we have that problem because we have this issue importing things, foreign currency shortage. There are many factories that have some of their machines have been abandoned, put to a side for 6 months because they can't bring the components. And when you have people who are very much specialized in using the machine and doing the task, they can't manually do the task. So the production gets interrupted. Problem becomes, people become dependent upon each other. True, no? So in that pin factory example, if in stage, for example, stage 2, the job is not done properly, then we can't expect the job to be done in stage 3. If stage 3 doesn't do the job because stage 2 doesn't do the job, then stage 4 is affected because of that. Likewise, it's interconnected. A chain reaction is there when one thing breaks down. Okay. Administrative difficulties and industrial disputes are there because you will have to manage people with different set of skills performing different tasks throughout the production process. So the administration part is not easy. Their skill sets are different. Their employee performance is different. The way you measure that performance is different because they are doing different tasks. And also industrial disputes, meaning between the labor and the management, there can be a lot of problems because there are people of different skill levels, people of different technical, specializations in the same factory. So amongst them, there can be problems. Now, for example, if you take the CEB, the engineers will have one view and idea. Then the technical people will have another view and idea. The administration people will have another view and idea. So it's not easy, right? With large scale production, anyway, these problems are there. Then workers feel bored or workers become monotonous, right? That means monotonous means, they feel they're doing the same thing, right? I think that's a good definition, right? They're doing the same thing over and over and over and over again. You understand what I'm saying? They feel that, they are going like the hamster wheel, that you go round and round and round, nothing else happens. So that when that feeling comes in, it creates a bit of boredom, it creates a bit of discouragement, it creates a bit of demotivation that could lead to inefficiency. And they could feel alienated because large factory, you're doing just one task, so you're not making a big impact. You can get that feeling. Okay, right. Fear of unemployment. Remember I said that specialization is going to improve mobility also, right? That specialization is going to improve mobility. At the same time, that specialization could lead to a bit of immobility also, because you have specialized so much in one task, either when that task, when you can't find a job in that exact activity, that specialization you have, it's difficult for you to go from one job to another. Okay, because you are so specialized in one thing. On the other hand, earlier we, under advantages, we wrote a point, or we talked about a point. We will use more machinery equipment, isn't it? So when advanced production methods are developed further, technology develops further, when we use very sophisticated machinery equipment within the production process, machines could be replacing you. We call it technological obsolescence could happen, or technological, you could be made redundant, or your services are no longer required because a machine can do your job. That is also there. That is another way unemployment can happen within division of labor, and the more and more when we use automation and technology within the production process. So those are the main disadvantages of division of labor and in turn specialization. Okay, right. So let me know, Puta, once you are done, we can move on and look at our next area, right, which is entrepreneurship. Right, few of you guys are done writing. I need a few more responses to confidently move forward. Okay. Yeah, I think most of you guys are saying you are done. That's brilliant. Anyone who is having a small part that you need to complete, then Puta, remember, a recorded version would be made available as always in the near future. Okay, right. Just to check with you guys are using and you guys are updated on the recorded versions that are available. I think up to 1.11 it should be available now on the website. Are we clear? Yes. Can someone confirm that? Yeah. Yes. Brilliant. So, but there is no reason for you to miss anything, right? Everything is there. And when you watch the recording, Puta, especially if you were in the session, right, then you don't have to watch the whole thing. No? You can skip and look at the area that you want to just concentrate or focus on. But if you miss the class, of course, my advice is try to watch the entire recording, because then you get the thing covered. Whatever you missed, you can get it covered. Get it? Right. Okay, with that, let's move on. Entrepreneurship, right? Study material, you know where to find this. Page 44. Entrepreneurship is basically what we describe as a special human resource. There's a lot, Puta, we can talk about entrepreneurship. We can have a whole, you know, a day we can talk about the virtues and, you know, everything and anything about entrepreneurship. It's a very interesting area to talk about. It's a very interesting economic resource or a factor of production. But the objective here is for you to, the objective for me is to ensure that you guys are able to identify what is entrepreneurship as a factor of production, how do we define entrepreneurship, and what are the main functions and characteristics of an entrepreneur. Functions and characteristics of an entrepreneur. Okay. Now, what makes entrepreneurship special from the other factors of production is, first thing, it is a human resource, but it is not just a human resource. It's a special kind of human resource. The special attributes are what makes entrepreneurship or an entrepreneur special is the functions that the entrepreneur would perform, what the entrepreneur really does in the business. Now, that is why when you write a good definition for entrepreneurship, you need to write the definition, or you need to include those functions of an entrepreneur. Only if you include the functions of the entrepreneur, then Buddha, your definition will be complete. It's very easy. There are 4 simple functions. Of course, I have explained them in detail in your study material, each function. But mainly there are 4 functions. Always when you think entrepreneurship, these 4 functions should come to your mind. right? This is what an entrepreneur is. This is what an entrepreneur does, right? This is what an entrepreneur does, right? We refer to them as the functions of an entrepreneur. So first and foremost, the entrepreneur would mobilize resources and organize the production process. ORG is organize the production process, right? That's why we say starting point of production is entrepreneurship. Then secondly, the entrepreneur would, right, basically be willing to face the risk of business, risk associated with starting a new business, investing in a new business, being innovative and doing something new, all that as a risk, right? We'll be willing to take that risk in expectation of profits, right? Risk element. Then we sometimes say risk capital also. That's also good. Capital, risk capital, function, job of the entrepreneur. Next, because the people who are working in the business, labor units are not going to take the risk, that the entrepreneur has to take the risk, right? Next, the entrepreneurs will introduce innovations, right? Innovation, that's another important function of an entrepreneur. Always entrepreneurs will look at doing something in a new way, right? Innovations. And finally, entrepreneurs should be people who make strategic decisions, right? What decisions? Strategic decisions. Decisions about the direction of the business, where the business is going. So this is entrepreneurship. Look at the definition. A special type of human resource who initiates, English word, starts, organizes the process of production, the process of producing goods and services by mobilizing land, labor, and capital resources. That's a very basic thing we have to say about entrepreneurs. Then we go on, right? Always the first two-line thing, and then we add. Remember, that's how we have defined land, capital, labor, and same thing with entrepreneurship. Okay, proper definitions. An entrepreneur shall also engage in, now when I say also, in addition to that mobilizing resources, organizing the production process part, right? Engage in activities such as making strategic, remember the word, strategic business decisions, introducing innovations on a commercial basis, right? And facing risk. The earning of entrepreneurship is known as profits. The payment for entrepreneurship is known as profits. An entrepreneur will mobilize, organize the production process, face the risk of business, be innovative, and make strategic decisions, expecting profits. Whether the entrepreneur will make profits or not is a different story, but expecting profits, right? Okay. What are the features of a good entrepreneur? Or what are the characteristics of an entrepreneur? Right? It's a human resource, right? Human, obviously, a special kind of human resource. That's a very obvious thing, right? Ability to identify, exploit, and initiate new business is a very unique skill entrepreneurs have. When we see a problem, entrepreneurs see an opportunity, right? Entrepreneurs see, okay, there is a need developing, there's a want developing. If I can come up with a product, I have an opportunity here. So that's what we say, identifying, exploit, do something about it, and initiate, start new businesses, entrepreneurship. Ability to successfully face and overcome challenges. This is the risk-taking ability of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs have what we say is a good risk appetite. A good risk appetite. They have a good appetite for risk. They can digest and face risk well, right? Characteristics. Leadership qualities and self-confidence, right? Entrepreneurs are always people who provide the leadership. If entrepreneurship, if a company, if a business is seen as a ship, I think that goes well with this, right? If a business enterprise or a business is seen as a ship, the entrepreneur is the captain who needs to provide leadership. Are we clear? You look up to the captain, the leader, right? So certain leadership qualities entrepreneurs should definitely possess, right? To face challenges, to not back down in front of these unexpected uncertainties or unexpected things that happen, right? In front of competition, entrepreneurs need to be strong, need to be able to provide leadership. When the decisions made by the entrepreneurs go wrong, they need to stand by those decisions, take responsibility. You guys know what leadership qualities are, no? Unfortunately, we can't look at our political leaders and sometimes learn those leadership virtues, unfortunately. But leadership qualities are important for an entrepreneur, right? We can talk more. There are different kinds of leadership styles and all that, right? Visionary thinking or futuristic thinking. Visionary thinking is entrepreneurs need to see the future far ahead than a normal person or an average individual. Entrepreneurs should have this ability to envision the future they want the market to be in, right? And the business to go into, right? Or business to be in. For example, one of the famous things I can say here, just to give you the idea is now, famously, Steve Jobs. Who is Steve Jobs? He's no longer with us. So the late Steve Jobs. Anyone? Let's see. An entrepreneur, yes. What is the business? What is the products he's famously known for? Founder, yes, one of the founder, yes, with I can't remember this person's other name, Wozniak. What was the other name? Anyway, so these, maybe he's also Steve. Anyway, right. So these two individuals founded, basically Apple, which is one of the largest companies in the world today, Apple Incorporated, a US company, electronics company, who are famously known now for their smartphones, the iPhones. Then they have their whole computers and, all those things. Right. Now, Steve Jobs, when he was working on with his engineering teams, design teams, when he was working on this thing called the first iPhone, right? The first phone to have this touch interface without buttons, right? Without buttons to, right? This is not the first iPhone, right? But it is an old phone, I understand, right? So when they were working on it, one of Steve Jobs, I think, design people or marketing people, someone has asked Steve Jobs, it's in his autobiography also, I think. Yes, it is. So was asked, Steve, we are spending so much effort, time, and resources trying to come up with this whole touch interface thing and all that, right? What is the market research? What is the evidence that the people in the market who are now at that time, who are happy with the Blackberries? There was a smartphone called Blackberry, still there, I think, right? Then Nokia had different smartphones. Smartphones are there, right? iPhone was not the first smartphone. There were other smartphones were there at that time with the QWERTY keypad or something, all that was there. So, so this person is asking Steve, why are we going through this trouble? Well, is the market asking for a touch interface smartphone? Are they looking for this? Did the market ask us to come up with a phone eliminating the keypad and the touch interface thing? What was the response Steve Jobs gives, very famously known? So the normal traditional thinking is that, but you ask the market, you ask the customer, what do you want, right? You anticipate, analyze the customer's wants, and then produce a good. But Steve Jobs didn't do that. He didn't ask anyone, do you want iPhone? Or do you guys need the market? He didn't ask. No market research for this. So what did Steve Jobs say? Steve Jobs famously said, the market or the people don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. No point in asking them. We will produce the smartphone, we will produce the iPhone with the touch interface and tell them, this is what you want. That is the future. This is what you want. This is the future. Buy it. They will buy. Get it? Visionary thinking. Did that work? Did we buy smartphones? Did we buy iPhones? Was Steve Jobs right? What do you guys think? Yes or no? We never wanted it. We never asked for it. But when they introduced the iPhone, what did it become a overnight a sensation, and did people go crazy over it? Yes or no? Ladies, gentlemen, or students. Yes. Today, iPhone is the single most successful electronic item or device in the world, right? And it became so successful with the Apple Incorporated at one point became the richest corporate in the history of the world. Their market value became more than 1 trillion US dollars. 1 trillion US dollars means, right? Just to give you an idea, 1 trillion US dollars means 1,000 billion US dollars. 1,000 billion US dollars. That was the value of Apple Incorporated because of their sensational success with the iPhone. When the thing that Steve Jobs said, people don't know what they want, we'll produce it, they will buy. We bought. Yes, we keep buying. Now, newest iPhone, i14, is it? 13 or 14? 14. There are people in Sri Lanka who are willing to pay because of exchange rate issue, right? Who are willing to pay how much? About 6-7 lakhs and willing to buy. That's how addicted we are to this now. Okay? 1,000 billion, just to give you an idea, is a net worth of market capitalization, market worth of Apple Incorporated. Sri Lanka's GDP is in the range of 85 billion at best US dollars. So try to compare, try to think of how big that one business in USA is. Okay, right. That's the virtue of entrepreneurship. That is what an entrepreneur can do. Of course, there are entrepreneurs like that in Sri Lanka also, right? Okay, so that's that. I think we are okay. Just one example I gave. That's it, right? Okay, functions of an entrepreneur. So, I explained these things. I've given these things for you to read so that you understand what each of these functions are, right? Just one thing I would like to introduce here or say here, that is this strategic business decision. If entrepreneurship, if a business or a firm is a ship, captain has to provide leadership. Captain has to provide direction. So strategy is providing the direction for the business. Strategy is providing the direction for the business, where the business should go. Got it? That is called strategic decision making, strategic business decisions, where the business should go. That is strategy. Is that clear? But the strategic decisions are those. Entrepreneur doesn't make these day-to-day decisions about the business. Entrepreneur should make higher level decisions, giving the direction for the business, what kind of a business we have to be, where should we go, right? In the market, what is our image, what is our place, what is our vision, mission. Those are the entrepreneur's decisions. Okay, right. Then we talk a bit about productivity, not a lot, but a bit about productivity. Okay, right. So when we learn productivity, right, I'm sure you are moving on in the study material also accordingly, right? First of all, we say productivity is the amount of output that can be produced with a given quantity of resources, right? Simple way to say productivity is output per unit of input. If you measure the output per unit of input, right, that's called productivity. But when we look at inputs, remember the inputs are used at the normal rate of use, right? Normal rate of use. What does that mean? Example, if you take labor as the input or the factor of production, normal rate of use is a person working 8 hours a day. That is a normal rate of use. No? A person could work 10 hours a day. A person could work 12 or 16 hours a day, or a person could work 24 hours a day. That is not the normal rate of use. Under normal rate of use or normal, we say conditions. Under normal conditions, if we use inputs, how much output we can produce. That's why we sometimes use, when we want to talk productivity, we always use the term, here we go. I was looking for the term. Average output. Productivity is the average output. The word average kind of gives the meaning normal output. Get it? Average output, normal output we can get using an input. Remember, when we talk productivity, we don't use words like maximum or minimum. These words are not used when we talk about productivity, right? It's not about producing the maximum output with the minimum inputs, not that. That is not the idea of productivity. Productivity is about if we use a certain input or inputs under their normal rate of use or normal conditions, what is the output we can get? The average output. That is productivity. So theoretically, I'm going to the third point. Theoretically, right, as a concept, that means as a concept, productivity, right? Productivity, I'm just putting the brackets to highlight it, okay? Productivity is the ability or the potential, of a given factor of production to produce an output. Each factor of production, it could be land, it could be labor, it could be capital. All of these factors of production have a productivity within them. That means an ability to contribute, ability to produce a good or service. So in production, what we do is take this productivity out of these land, labor, capital resources. And along with the entrepreneur's job is that an entrepreneur has to take the productivity out of land, labor, capital and engage in production, produce a good or service. So each factor of production has a productivity under normal rate of use. Output, average output that can be produced is there using each factor of production. So concept of productivity means that the ability or potential to produce a good or service within factors of production. If a person works 8 hours a day, there's a certain output that person can produce. That is that individual's, that is that labor unit's productivity. Per hour, we can give it, right? Land, if you take an acre of land, if you farm or grow something on that acre of land, then there's an output we can get. That is called productivity. Get it? Of land. Finally, so we are clear on this, I think. You will ask me if you're not. Yes, right. Productivity can be separately estimated for each production factor. Productivity can be separately estimated for each production factor. So we can talk about labor productivity, land productivity, capital productivity separately. Okay. Now, but the thing is this, we don't have something called entrepreneurship, productivity of entrepreneurship or entrepreneurship productivity, because it's specialized skill that you can't measure, you can't compare and measure it that way. But for labor, land and capital, we can talk about productivity. And remember, once we have found the productivity, now we'll say a person works for 8 hours. We'll continue our example quickly. Person works for 8 hours, right? And producers, we'll say 400 units of something. Producers 400 units of something. Okay, some item 400 pins. Right, works for 8 hours. Producers anyway, right? Whatever the item produces face mask or something, right? Just think, right? Whatever the product, 400 units. So how do we estimate the productivity of labor? What is the productivity of labor? Labor productivity. How do we estimate? Labor productivity. It's a simple thing, Buddha. It's there here. In the note, it's there. What am I saying? No, they are here. Right. Yes, very good. Amani, correct. Anyone else who would like to contribute? How do you measure the labor productivity? We want to find out, Buddha. Now, 8 hours is the normal conditions, no? Right? Under normal rate of use, we have produced 400 units. So per hour, that is what we want. Per hour, how many units? What is the output? There we go. Now you guys are giving the answers. Yes. We take 400 divided by the number of inputs. In this case, labor, how many hours? 8 hours. So 400 divided by 8. What is the productivity of labor in this case per hour? You have to give it per hour, per unit of input. So we get 50, right? 50, we'll say whatever the product, 50 units per hour, right? Per hour, because that is how you give productivity, per hour. Now we'll say, Buddha, there is someone in this factory, employee, right? Some employee, we'll say Mr. X works for 1 hour, right? Works for 1 hour and is able to produce an output of 40 units. What can you say about Mr. X labor? What can you say about Mr. X's labor resource? Or what can you say about Mr. X? He works for 1 hour and produces only 40 units. Remember, the productivity in this factory of labor is 50. Now that we have measured that, we have a standard now. Normal employee, normal rate of use, 8 hours, per hour 50 units. Per hour 50 units. Then we have one employee in the factory. Once we have measured and found the productivity of labor in the factory, there's another employee we realize, right? This person is only producing 40 units. What can we say about this person's labor? There's a word we use to describe this person's labor. If the productivity under normal rate of use is 50, if this person is only producing 40, that's where we use the term, right? You guys know this. You just need a small push to find the word. That's where we say, right? This person is very good. Yes. Akila, very good. Inefficient. What do we say, Puta? This person is inefficient. So word, yes, that is also okay. Right? We use the words efficiency, inefficiency by using productivity as the benchmark. Comparison is productivity. If a person produces 50 or more, then that person is efficient. If that person produces 50, if a person produces less than 50, that person is inefficient. That's how we use words like efficiency and inefficiency compared to productivity. Get it? Right. Compared to productivity. Right. I think we are okay. So let's move on. Let's measure productivity. Start with general formula, output divided by inputs. Okay. Outputs is always the same. Whether we look at labor productivity, whether we look at capital productivity, output is always the same, right? Output doesn't change. The numerator doesn't change. It's always the output. What changes is the denominator, the bottom component. If we measure labor, you guys need to quickly write the formulas with that. If we measure labor productivity, we say total output, right? Divided by labor hours or number of labor hours. Get it? If it's capital, we say machine input or machine. Machine hours sometimes. If it's land, we say land acres. So this is how we measure productivity for separately factors of production, each factor of production. Generally, productivity is output divided by inputs. Output divided by inputs. Okay. Once you guys are done, let me know. Then we can look at the determinants of productivity. What increases productivity and decreases productivity. Okay. It's very simple. We have a big discussion, more detailed discussion about productivity in unit 4, right? And also we talk a bit more about productivity in unit 11 of the syllabus also, when we learn about economic growth, because you can't achieve economic growth without having high levels of productivity. Okay. So don't worry about this, whether we should say total output to output. Basically, when we say output, we mean the total output, right? And the input should be, if it's labor, all the labor hours used under normal conditions. Capital, the machine inputs used under normal conditions, and land also same thing. Okay, right. Are we done? Few of you guys have let me know you're done. If a few more are done, we can then move on to talk about the determinants of productivity. Okay, right. First, we are going to look at the standard determinants of productivity, then a few specific things for labor productivity. Your labor productivity is special compared with land and capital. Okay. Right. I'll move on. If you want me to come back to the previous slide, let me know. Okay. Right. Factors deciding factor productivity. These are also called the determinants of productivity. Get it? Determinants. Right. Standard things. Technology. You guys can start writing also. Technology or technical knowledge. Very important determinant. Right? Very, very key determinant, we can say. Right? A key determinant of productivity. Human capital. We have talked about human capital. Management methods. When you think management methods, management is about 4 things. No, you guys know this, right? That is about planning, right? It's about organizing. It's about directing, or we say leading, right? Leading, and it's about controlling, right? Plan, organize, lead, control. Management methods are key. Efficient management methods will improve productivity. My God, specialization, you can say and division of labor, or you can say specialization through division of labor. That's how we get to specialization, through division of labor. Then we have innovations, right? So innovations mainly are created through R&D. Can someone tell me what is R&D? Innovations are mainly created through R&D. What is R&D? I'm sure you have heard this before. R&D. The N is phonetical. That is, it's instead of the word and, it's R and D. Okay, let's see. Very good. Yes, Amani. Anyone else? What is R&D? Sheikhla, you have given one part of it. Not sure about the other part, I assume. Okay, but anyway, good try. First part is correct. Okay, yes, okay. R&D is for the research and development. Research and development. Research and development is the way we come up with innovations. We come up with new technologies. Research is a scientific process of problem solving, finding solutions. So when you do research, the more research you do, you can develop new technologies. You can be innovative. Okay, right. Now, Sri Lanka is not known in the world as a country that is at the cutting edge of technology, one of the most innovative countries. We are not known that way. One of the reasons is that we are not having a lot of research and development done. We are not a research and development based economy. We don't have the culture for research or the temperament, attitude for research. So the more research and development we do, we will have innovations. Innovations help us improve productivity. The more productivity improves, we can achieve growth, can produce more output. Right. Then micro, small, and medium scale enterprises, which is the backbone of any economy, including the Sri Lankan economy. So the more we develop micro, small, medium scale enterprises, our productivity will improve. Right. These are what we call the standard determinants. So this is for factor productivity. So when we say factor, it's for labor, it's for land and capital, all three factor productivity, general points. Okay, right. Then can I move on? Yeah, are we done? Can we move on? Done. Okay. Few more of you done? Okay, so let me gradually move on, Putta. If you want me to let me know, I can come back to the previous slide. Right, now we are going to talk about certain things that are unique to labor productivity. Labor productivity, as I said, is special. Right. When it comes to labor productivity, determinants of factors deciding labor productivity here, labor productivity. Now, I'll just identify the things we already have, right? Human capital we talked about earlier, right? So that we know. Technology we talked about earlier. Division of labor, specialization we talked about earlier, right? Then what are the new things? Now, I haven't included innovations and micro, small scale, because those are not really specific to individual level, but you can write those, it's not wrong. But Putta, what are the special points I've included? That's a key. No? Special points are 3 more types of capital: physical capital, natural capital, social capital. So you have to have 4 types of capital when you talk about labor. 4 types of capital when you talk about labor. Get it? Physical, human, natural, and social. Okay. We only take human capital if you are talking generally about factor productivity. Then attitudes, machines, equipments, land doesn't have attitude. No. Incentives, things that we can use to motivate people, incentives. So these are the additional things when it comes to labor productivity: physical, natural, social capital, attitudes and incentives. Attitudes and incentives. Include them as well when it comes to, if the question is on factors deciding labor productivity. Factors deciding labor productivity. Are we clear? Right. As I said, Putta, we talk about productivity much more, right? It's a big economic concept in the future units and areas. Right. Yeah. So that's that. Okay. With that, we basically conclude the discussion, but I want to talk very quickly about factor mobility, and then we have the test your knowledge questions. This I have given as an additional thing, that are the different strategies to improve labor productivity. What can we do to improve labor productivity? So as a part of the PDF of the slides I've shared with you, this should be there. Go through them leisurely, right? Just to add something more to your knowledge. That's all. Okay. Right. So before we quickly look at the TY case for learning key 4, let me jump to the study material a bit. Okay. Right. And let's come here. Remember that you guys need to know a proper definition for division of labor, right? And specialization, which we discussed. Okay. Mobility of resources. As I said, there are 2 kinds of mobilities, right? Occupational and geographical, right? Occupational mobility I have explained, basically to move resources, right? Or shift resources from one production to another, from one industry to another, from one activity to another. That is occupational. Geographical is to move I am using the word move because that's where the word mobility comes from. No, move given. So here it's about the task. Okay, so that's a very simple way. This is about the task or the job. This is about the place, right? Or the, we can say, location. Get it? Right, mobility. Sorry, sir, from one place to another, one place or location to another place or location. Physically, can you move? Those are the two things. Occupational, geographical. Land, something special to talk about. Land is geographically immobile. What does the word immobile meaning? Cannot move. You can't move land in its natural state, you can't. So geographically immobile, right? But occupationally mobile. You can use the same piece of land for different things, right? Capital, money or financial capital is more geographically and occupationally mobile. That's understood, no? Some, not all, some physical capital resources are very job specific. Only one task you can do with them. So they are occupationally immobile. Examples are things like potter's wheel, ship anchor. Potter's wheel is that thing that goes around, Buddha, we used to, when we make clay pots and things like that to get the shape, right? There is a potter's wheel. Only one use, single use. So occupationally immobile. Are we clear? I think you guys are clear on the basic concept of mobility for now. Okay, geographical and occupational. Right, let's complete this chart quickly. We are in page 55. Are you there? Are we there? Page 55. Okay. Right. So what is the reward for land? The reward for land is called, the price of land is called reward or, sorry, reward, or we say, okay, right. Reward, or we say price. Okay. Yes. Rent. Okay. Rent. Land is geographically immobile. Geographically immobile. Occupationally, generally mobile. Okay. Mobile. Key feature, land is the natural resource. Okay. Land is the natural resource. Natural resource. I hope my handwriting is legible. Okay. Labor. The reward is, remember, wages, right? I wish I can give you guys some time to respond and do this, but we are in a bit of a tight spot for time. Okay. Labor is geographically also mobile. People can move, no, one place to another. Occupationally also, most of the time we expect it to be mobile, right? Which is the human resource, no? Right? The human resource. Capital, the reward is called interest, or interest. Geographically mobile, right? Occupationally, we'll say generally or mostly, if not generally, mobile. There are some job specific things, generally mobile. Key feature, human-made, right? Human-made real asset. I want to write all that. Human-made real asset. Human-made real asset. Money is not capital, remember? Human-made real asset. Enterprise, the reward is profits. We expect a good entrepreneur to be geographically and especially occupationally mobile. Occupationally mobile. It's the special human resource. Special human resource. Okay. Yeah. That covers pretty much everything. Are we okay? Now, the only thing left to do is to answer the THY case. Can I move on, Kuta? No? Yes? Right. Sorry if this is making you guys dizzy. Right. Here we go. Okay. Let's do this quickly. Right. You guys can respond also, obviously. Identify the category of economic resources. You would include the following: a school teacher, what is the resource? Is it land, capital, entrepreneurship? What? School teacher? School teacher? Akila, think again. A school teacher? Yep, very good. Basically, labor. Okay. Then in economics, physical, mental effort, no? Right. A group of elephants under captivity used for logging timber. What? Land or capital? Not a group of elephant in the wild. Yes, very good. Basically capital. Right? They are under captivity. They are used for economic purpose. Then water bottling plant. The focus is not on water. Water bottling plant. A factory. What is it? Yes, very good. The water bottling plant is capital. Okay, capital. Sand to be sold in a hardware store. Sand to be sold in a hardware store. What is it? Very good. Yep, basically capital. Okay. A person running a hair salon. A person running a hair salon. What is it? No, running a hair salon. That means you might be cutting hair also, but if you're running the hair salon, what do you need to do? You need to bear the risk of the business. You need to make the strategic decisions. You need to organize the business. You need to be innovative, right? Which means with it's entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship. Got it? Right. Question 2, I expect all of you to answer. We have learned the proper 2-line, 3-line, simple definition for, right, these particular factors of production. Okay, entrepreneurship, labor, capital, land. I'm starting in the other order so that you will remember them better. Learn how to define them. I want the proper definition, not the general definition. What we have learned word to word, exactly I want you to write the proper definition. Normally the definition has 2 components. I would like it if you write both components. The first 1 or 2 line thing, and then with the features we talk about it. So 2 para definitions for entrepreneurship, labor, capital, and land. Make sure you do this. Put pen on paper and write with her, then only you remember. Okay? Right. Manage the space and do that. Then the MCQ questions. Which of the following is not a major function of an entrepreneur? What do you guys want to do? Can we discuss them now and finish this off? Or do you want to attempt them and discuss them next week? I think we can finish it off now. It's better. Few more minutes we will need. Yeah? Shall we do that? Yeah, excellent. Right. So which of the following is not a major function of an entrepreneur? So not a major function of an entrepreneur is earning profits. Entrepreneurs expect profits. Profits is the reward, right, for engaging in the rest of the functions. That is, for organizing the production, bearing risk, introducing innovations, making policy strategic decisions. What you expect is the reward, that is profits. Get it? And also another thing, Buddha, is that if earning profits is a function of an entrepreneur, all entrepreneurs should be profitable. No, that is not the case. All entrepreneurs are not profitable. Get it? Right. The income payment made to the resource owners of land, labor capital, and entrepreneurship respectively. Remember, we start with land, then labor capital. So we have to start with rent, then wages, then interest and profits. Yep, answer number 4. Okay, if there was an answer that says profits, interest, wages, and rent at the end, that is not correct, because we have to follow this order. It says respectively. Okay, that is also important to be clear on. 2011, which of the following is an example of a natural resource? Victoria Dam is not a natural resource. It's man-made. Hambantota Harbour is not a natural resource. It is man-made or human-made. A paddy field is human-made. No. Poultry farm, chicken running around and all that, but still farm, human-made. So number 5, Dun in the waterfall. Yes, I'm sure you guys are doing okay. No problem. Excellent. Good. Some of you guys are giving the correct answers very quickly. Brilliant. 2016, the term human capital. Human capital. The labor resource used to make capital equipments? No. That is labor basically. Buildings and machinery, that is capital. The skill and knowledge endowment. Yep. Sounds good. Put pin on it. Entrepreneurship and risk-taking, that is entrepreneurship. Labor force unemployed, so labor force employed in the health and education sector, that's basically employed population in the health and education sector. That is not human capital. Number 3, human capital. Right, we have learned these things properly. Okay, Pata? Then 2017, which of the following is not a factor of production? What is not a factor of production? Natural resources, land. Right, natural resources, land. Human resources, labor. Entrepreneurship is a special kind of human resource. Capital is capital. Money. Money is not capital. Money is not a factor of production. Money is not a factor of production. Right. Attempt these structured essay type questions, pen on paper. You can do it. Write your best answers, right? And write the technical definitions properly. And if you want to, send it to us. If you can, drop it off at the Mind-Hub admin office. If there is a way for you to do that, Putta, I can definitely have a look at them and give you some feedback. I don't mind doing that, but you need to make sure they reach us, right? Okay, right. So next session, we are hoping to start basically production possibility frontier, which is the second chapter of Unit 1. So with that, let me conclude the session.